Welcome back to the beautiful podcast. I'm Aditi,
I'm Elizabeth.
and today we're going to be talking about some of the various causes of BDD and how they contribute to the development of BDD. The first thing that we're going to be talking about today is genetic predisposition. There are a lot of neurocognitive factors that can contribute to the development of BDD. One of them is neurocognitive function. Basically, in several studies and researchers, they've shown that there's differences in neurocognitive function with decreased memory, decision making, and emotional recognition in those with BDD compared to those who do not have BDD. There's different brain regions influence on BDD. Studies with fMRI scans show that areas that deal with visual information and emotions are highly activated, such as the amygdala and occipital lobe. Neurotransmitters and hormones can also have an effect on BDD. There are low levels of serotonin and high levels of oxytocin, which is a hormone, and these are often present in individuals who have body dysmorphic disorder. In addition, a family history of obsessive compulsive disorder has seen to show correlation with increased rates of BDD in patients.
And I think there's a lot of obviously biological factors, whether it's genetics in your brain that can cause the BDD, but I also think there's a lot of environmental factors that can cause that, right? There's a lot of things such as bullying and the way you're treated as a kid or the way you're treated from parental expectations or society's expectations could lead to symptoms of BDD and even being diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder. And a lot of the symptoms of BDD are very common to many people, and that does not mean you were diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder, but overall body positivity, of course, is so important. But there's many factors that can lead to this. And I think one of the more prominent ones we do see is kind of like society, right? Whatever the trends are at the time, or especially the use of social media recently has caused a lot of teenagers and especially females to kind of undergo that immense security due to the standards, whether that's they can't fit into a certain clothes or a certain waist size, or they're trying to fit into a style that just doesn't fit into the body, which can cause a lot of body insecurity, eventually can cause BDD. And I think we've been seeing that a lot, especially in the past few years with the rise of social media like TikTok, Instagram, and all those things. And being able to compare yourselves to people on the daily for hours and hours, right? The hours that people attend on social media are increasing. I feel like the average teenager probably is like 6 hours on social media itself, and forcing yourself to look at that much content of people that either you idolize or want to be can ultimately lower your mental health and lower your body confidence and your positivity that you have in yourself. And it's really important that not only are we able to understand and be self-aware of how that happens and why we're being so insecure, but also to set boundaries for ourselves. If as like a person, I know I see this myself, where if I'm on Instagram or whatever for X amount of time and I see myself going extensively and I'm starting to nitpick things, then I know, okay, like it's time to stop. Aditi, do you have any other societal factors you think could impact BDD?
Just adding on to what you were saying about ethnic and cultural background, I think this is a huge one, especially in cultures such as like East Asian cultures, which kind of stress the idea of like a slim waist or like specific facial features, and especially with the K-pop industry, which is so strict about the way their idols look. It kind of breeds that sense of perfection in those beauty standards, and everybody just looks up to that, and you don't feel like represented, which is another thing that's important, representation of all different kinds of bodies, which you don't see in the media, and that makes you insecure about the features that you do have. I think that it's also really important to have discussions like this that prompt others to talk about the causes and effect of body dysmorphic disorder, and it kind of supports those who are silently struggling out there, who aren't able to fully understand what they're going through because they can't recognize the causes or symptoms.
Right, yeah. And I think, like you were saying, I think a lot of us know what BDD or we've heard about dysmorphia, whether it's through social media or whatever. But I think a lot of us don't really understand, especially the symptoms or the actual disorder and what comes with that, and all the things that go around BDD, and especially obviously we see body insecurity increasing by the minute, especially in Gen Z and generations lower than us. And I think it's so important that if past generations weren't able to make that change in our generation, it's important that our generation makes that change for ourselves and hopefully our future generations and our kids, so that they don't have to deal with the same problems that we did when it comes to body like dysmorphia and insecurity that is such a prominent topic in today's teenagers and in the lives of honestly many, whether it's girls or men. I actually want to get into that about body dysmorphia in men, right? We were interviewing some of our classmates at school, especially the men, and they were talking to us about how men also experience body dysmorphia. And this is often reasons why a lot of men extensively focus on going to the gym and sculpting their body into the way that they think it should be. Because, of course, women have societal standards too, but so do men. And they face that same exact thing where they're trying to be this perfect man and fit this standard and fit this box. And I think we more often see body positivity and body insecurity focused on women, and rather than also focusing on everyone who goes through it, because the truth is everyone will go through body insecurity, and it's such a common thing that happens, especially in the modern world. And it's important that not only men and women and anyone else, that we all understand that body positivity is important for no matter what body you are. And I think it's also important that we're starting to redefine that standard, especially for men and for women, about what a perfect body is. That kind of goes back to our name, that being you is being beautiful. And that's kind of what we're trying to stress with this whole entire project and organization.
And I think that
Uh,
it's really important that people understand that they're not alone in this struggle. There are a lot of people who face BDD, whether they realize it or not. And if you do feel like this is a problem for you and it's hindering the way that you live your life, reach out to someone, a trusted adult, or someone who can help you and work your way through this.
yeah, and I think also we'll link a bunch of resources in probably in the description of a YouTube video or the Spotify or in our Instagram at Beautiful. A bunch of psychologists, at least in our area, or BDD, the organization, and just a bunch of other resources you can get. You can find them on Instagram, etc. But I think it's important that we all stay informed, whether it's, again, like I said, anyone, parents, kids, siblings, anyone who knows someone going through it, or anyone who's just trying to inform themselves. I think it's always important that we know what's going on in our world, whether it pertains to or not. It's really important that we're able to understand things like this. And I think with that, I kind of want to stress again about the societal beauty standards of kind of like industries, right? So we go into like the makeup industry or let's say clothing industry. I think we've especially seen this in the modeling industry where a lot of people have suffered with immense body dysmorphia due to just the extreme standards that are set on women and men going into the modeling industry, and the amount of stress and insecurity they feel. And because there's these picture perfect models and people in the industry and being showcased, it really kind of starts to make young men and women and just young people or even older people start to question the way they look and kind of become more insecure about that. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we decided to base our campaign around Barbie, right? I think there's something so beautiful. We kind of saw something so beautiful in the movie Barbie, in the way that's able to portray a woman, or even in general any human, man, whatever, but the way it's able to portray a human outside their body, and the importance of that the Barbie isn't just a Barbie, and that she was a human and she wanted to be that, and she wanted to pursue her life and her career, and she wasn't happy being this picture perfect Barbie. And I think there's something so beautiful about people not trying to be defined by their body and trying to kind of create a definition of who they are outside of what they look like. And I think that movie and that message was so powerful in the way that it was able to portray that and send it to the watcher, because I think not only did it appeal to like all ages, but it really just it appealed to everyone, right? And in the message it sent about your body not being like the definition of you, and you being able to define who you are without any constraints, whether it's societal expectations or whatever. I think it's really important that we are able to spread that message more and more.
Yeah. And back to what you were saying about the modeling industry, I think it's great how high profile companies or like brands like Gucci and Versace are starting to kind of like expand their horizon of what a model should look like. Because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was mostly like skinny models with the same like facial features, all white, no representation ethnically or in different body types. But I think now they're starting to embrace a bunch of different kinds of looks, and you're starting to see a more common facial features in these models. And I think that's great because when you look at a magazine and you see someone like yourself on there, you start to feel more confidence in your own features. And I think that's something especially important for younger generations.
Yeah, and also, Vogue just named their Model of the Year as a colored plus size woman, which is the first time that's ever been done in modeling history. And I think the amount of change we're seeing in the world is really impactful. And I think just as together as people, as whether it's the United States or as just the world, as a community, we're kind of creating more change when it comes to body dysmorphia. I think people are seeing it, and it's becoming so much more obvious about how intense this becomes, and people are trying to make that change. But of course, there's always more to do, and that's kind of the point of this project and the point of so many other things, of so many other projects of people around the world trying to make that change.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us on the beautiful podcast. Stay tuned for more discussions on body positivity and body dysmorphic disorder.